Today's show brought to you in part by our friends at the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. Hey, look there in the corner of the screen. Muggsy, the handicapping Labrador, making a cameo appearance. She hasn't done that in a while. She's not barking, but I swear that's an actual Labrador retriever right there. I mentioned the TRF. There are founding partners, so many ways to support them. trfinc.org/players. That's the place to go. You can donate money. You can make a donation and get our In the Money whiskeys we have up here behind me. You can also get, and we love this if you hit big based on something you hear on this network, or if we inspire you in some way and you hit big and you want to give, this is our I Won and So Did They t-shirt. Comes baked in with a $75 donation to TRF. You can get one of these and get all the info on that trfinc.org/players site as well. Also, go to oldsmokeclothing.com and check out our entire In the Money t-shirt collection. There's all kinds of cool stuff for you to find over there. We got the One Time, we got the Chalk Eating Weasel, we got I'm Alive in the Pick 5, and we've got the Degenerate Horse Player. It might be time for the May You Win All Your Photos t-shirt too. That could be a holiday gift item this time around. JK collection over there as well. Anyway, best place to find that stuff. InTheMoneyPodcast.com/oldsmoke. But remember, we do want you to give generously to our friends at the TRF, helping humans, helping horses. trfinc.org/players. Hello and welcome to a special edition of the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for the races of Saturday, September 18th, my wedding anniversary, actually. Typically, this weekend, we try to head up north to go to Toronto for today's sponsors, Woodbine, one of their biggest days, Woodbine Mile, a little bit different this year with some extra graded stakes action. And let me tell you, we've got it covered backwards and forwards all over the In the Money Media Network. What do we got? Well, we've got one fun show you're going to want to check out. Frankie Dettori, who's going to be riding at Woodbine on Saturday. Special guest with Naomi Tucker on Talk Racing to me this weekend. That's one thing. Later on this show, Drew Coatney and I will be going over the late pick 4, all the stakes, special little look at the mandatory forceout in the Super High 5 in the last race. That's going to be fun. And there's more than that. We're going to be doing a full card look on a whole other audio-only show, bringing back the band of me, Jason Pertuando, and Doug McPherson. That's going to be fun. Drew and I will be back with some final answers type material later in the weekend as well, including a look at the Sunday late pick 4 as well. So for everything you need for Woodbine this weekend, keep it tuned to the In the Money Media Network. And of course, that's not all we're going to be covering. We are going to have some coverage of the Churchill Downs and the stakes there. That's going to be on the In the Money Plus side, Nick Tamaro handling those duties. But we're going to kick off this show bring in our friend who's been a regular, doing a great job on these shows for the last couple of months from Equinedge, Scottie McKeever. We're going to be looking at the Pick 6 at Belmont on Saturday, and we're going to get to that segment right after this message from our friends at Equinedge. Today's show and this next segment in particular brought to you by our friends at Equinedge, AI technology for horse racing handicappers. I love it. To me, it sits in the pocket. It gives you a ton of actionable information at your fingertips, but it doesn't do all the work for you. There's still a thought process, and you can incorporate it into your handicapping. Basically, you can let it do as much of the handicapping as you want it to do, and you're going to get a boost in your play because there's great proprietary metrics like the SOR, strength of race, and the GSR, genetic strength rating. That one in particular, I have found absolutely invaluable to do pedigree work at a glance. There's also betting tools in there to help you construct your wagers as well. Some great stories of Equinedge users scoring out using their betting tool, including from our own Matt Vagvolgi. Equinedge.com is the website, and you can use it for free for a month if you use our promo code FREEMONEY, or you can go directly to Equinedge.com/free-money. Remember, there's only one E in the middle of Equinedge. That E does double duty in both words. Equinedge.com/free-money. As promised, PTF back with you here in the Brooklyn Bunker, and very happy to be joined by, as promised, our special guest, the man who is really behind a lot of the algorithms you see with this Equinedge software. He's also an accomplished contest player, a TV personality. The guy does lots of things. He's Scottie McKeever. Scottie, what are you up to right now?
I'm in Florida. I just got home from the Del Mar trip, a couple of months down at Del Mar. That wasn't bad, and had a good time. And now I'm back here, and I've been doing my shows, and I'm doing a couple of Woodbine shows, partnering with them, covering the Woodbine Mile here this weekend. So that's going to be fun on Saturday. A lot of winning you're in for the Breeders' Cup going on this weekend. So looking forward to that. A lot of Naira racing and racing from Woodbine, and so going to be a lot of fun and going to be doing a couple of shows. It's going to be long shows, though, a couple of marathons. I'll be doing 6-7 hour shows on Saturday and Sunday.
It's great complementary material to the stuff we do on here in the network, because you can be following along with Woodbine in real time, asking questions, learning more about Equinedge, and getting your insight into these races. So it's something we definitely want to point people to. I assume, Scotty, the best way to find it is for folks to go to the Equinedge YouTube page and subscribe there, sign up for notifications, and then when you're on, they'll know about it.
Right, that, and if you subscribe to Equinedge, it's free to do so, and then you also get notifications on emails of my shows, and it's real easy. You just click on the link. If you follow Equinedge on Twitter, they send out a show notification as well, and then you'll be able to click on the YouTube link there and go straight to the show. So it's easy to watch from your phone, wherever, and yeah, it's so interactive. Last week's show, last Saturday, and by the way, too, another note, we're showing live racing now on video. So we've got that approval from some of the tracks. We were able to show that last week. And it really makes a big difference for people that are watching and chatting. They're able to watch my reaction to the race. And sometimes I'll do commentary in the race. And who knows, sometimes when the feed's not working, I'll actually give my race call at the same time. No,
how is your race calling? How's your ability?
Yeah, nobody wants to hear that. That's for sure. But what was interesting last week, for whatever reason, it all kind of came together, and last Saturday's show had like close to 6,000 views on YouTube alone. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was really cool, and it was nice to see. And the chat was going crazy, and it was really neat. So we're starting to build some momentum right now.
That's good stuff, and I definitely recommend checking it out. I love that idea. Great way to learn, playing along with people, being able to interact and ask questions. I had a question from somebody who was watching along with your live stream last week from Kentucky Downs, just looking for advice about how to combine traditional handicapping and what you get from Equinedge. Now, I know different people do it different ways. There are those who believe that, you just sort of live and die with the algorithm. And then there are those who want to be using their traditional handicapping. And one horse he brought up in particular was Gear Jockey. I guess Gear Jockey, the way that he was looking at the software, the way the software was being discussed, was a runner last week that didn't particularly look great on the software, but on his own paper handicapping ended up being one that he wanted to use. And I think he was just looking for a little advice and or guidance about trying to combine the two. Do you recommend using both approaches, traditional handicapping and the Equinedge software, or what would you say as far as that goes?
Well, when we talk about traditional handicapping, we're talking about past performances, statistics, things like that. I tell you what, some people get a little, make things complicated where they're using too many things, right? And sometimes that can get confusing. I don't know. It's a mixture. I think that if it doesn't throw you off, where sometimes you see one thing and then all of a sudden you see another site and you see another thing and all of a sudden it throws you off. People can get thrown off on our own site as well, because we have different metrics like the GSR, which is for breeding, the top Scotty pick algorithm, the Scotty long shot algorithm, or the win percentages, or the Equinedge morning line. Sometimes some people don't know how to take all of those and merge them together, and they get confused as well too. So, we do have a lot of people that use Equinedge for certain things that they like. Maybe it's the GSR, and then they're using their past performances like, DRF and stuff like that too. And so it's just a mixture. That's really a hard call, and every race presents itself differently,
I think it comes down a lot of times to just one's own handicapping personality. But, you got to understand, for some people, the speed of living and dying with the software and the benefits, the confidence you can get from that is going to make them want to rely more on the software. I can't do it that way. I mean, I'm too dyed in the wool of doing what I do. But what I like is I'll come to a sequence with my strong opinions from my paper handicapping, and then I can use Equinedge to help fill in the gaps, especially in a spread race, giving me extra horses to include, or maybe giving me that extra confidence in a race where my traditional handicapping and the software come up with the same horse. Then I can single that horse with more confidence and move on. And another cool thing about, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I haven't used the wagering tool as much as I want to, but specifically with the wagering tool that helps you build tickets in Equinedge, you can absolutely manually try to guide it and tell it to play tickets. You could take the races where you have your strongest opinions and sort of nail those down, and then let the software do the walking for you, as it were, in other legs. So that was another thought I had. Am I describing that correctly?
Well, it's the ticket generator is what you're referring to. And essentially, yeah, what you can do is you can go, okay, my budget is $48 for a pick four. You put the $48 in, you generate the ticket, and then you can play that if you don't feel like handicapping any further, or you can adjust it and go, I'll give you a scenario. So a friend of mine hit the pick six over at Gulfstream Park not too long ago. It was a rainbow 20 cent. And what he did was he generated a $100 ticket. That's what he had in his account. He was using our mobile platform, and he generated it, and it used 4 horses in the first leg. And one of those horses was the one horse. And a friend of his gave him a tip on the one and said, I heard the one is live. So what he did was he forced the system to single that one horse. Luckily, it was one of the 4 horses that the system gave him, but he forced the system to do that. And then he locked the race. So essentially what that means is no other horse could be used in that leg. So then he regenerated the ticket, and based on his $48 or $100 budget, it regenerated the ticket and added more horses to the other legs and singled his one horse in leg number 1, and he hit it for $3,600. So
that's great. That's a perfect example.
That's a good example of how you would use it. And I would also say to you too, that if I said to you, Peter, you got 8 hours to handicap Santa Anita, give you 8 hours, go ahead and handicap it. What do you think, no matter what the mutual, it could be favorites, 2 to 5s, whatever. What do you think your average win percentage would be over, let's just say, a month?
Like using multiple horses in one leg, or top pick only?
No,
what
just top pick, just winner.
Top pick only. I mean, you're not going to do better than the public, right? So, and the public wins at, these days, something 32. Like 35%. So yeah, or 32. So, I'd guess in the range, because we're probably picking some longer prices than horses that are favorites. So that probably pushes the strike rate down 30%, 28%, something like that.
I would say you could hit 30%, but I think the point I'm going to make right now, and it'll make sense to you, is our top win percentage alone wins 36% of the time.
More than the favorite. Yeah.
Right. The favorites it's actually, the average payout's a little bit higher than what the favorite is. It's like $4.80 is what ours is. The public is picking at $4.60. So we're a little bit higher. We hit it a little bit higher rate. But the point is you can do that with zero handicapping, and then you can take the other tools and kind of merge them in with that, if that makes sense.
Well, we went a little, we probably blew some people's minds going quickly over that idea of locking the ticket generator and this and that. We don't have time on today's show to go fully into how to use that tool. I think that's probably the best way to combine, our buddy who wrote in, who loved Gear Jockey, he could have made a certain percentage of his tickets just singling Gear Jockey using the computer for the races that he didn't have that strong opinion in. Now, I'm going to guess the ticket generator and what we're describing, that's probably some of the stuff you're going over in those longer live streams we were talking about that you've been doing, not just on Saturdays, but on weekends and special days, Prince of Wales and other things like that.
Yeah. The Prince of Wales, by the way, was amazing. That was from Fort Erie. We covered that. That's the second leg of the Triple Crown, the Canadian Triple Crown. It was an amazing success. And we had, I want to say, 400 concurrent people watching that show. And they were all betting that, and it was great. Introduced them to Fort Erie. That went fantastic. But yeah, like you're talking about with Gear Jockey, that would be an example of what we're talking about. Like my friend did, you would just take Gear Jockey, you would force the system to single that horse, and based on your budget, you regenerate, and you'd have a very high chance of winning. Because anytime you can add a positive change, meaning eliminate a horse in a leg that you don't like that the system's using, or force it to single somewhere, or add a horse that maybe it didn't use. If you can do that and be right about those changes, you've enhanced your chances of winning exponentially.
Let's talk about this pick 6 on Saturday, Scotty, starting with Belmont's 6th race. We've got 2-year-old maiden fillies going 6.5 on the dirt. How did you want to get this thing kicked off?
Well, our top win percentage is the 4-horse Tout Ensemble. And I mean, it's 18%. So, I mean, that just goes to show you how wide open the race is. And so you're really going to have to make a judgment call here. I will say this, Circle Back Jen's a first-time starter for Rob Atras, and Kendrick Carmouche is aboard. And this one seems to have some substance behind it. And I think this 2-year-old filly is decent by Majestic Perfection. And so I'm going to say the 3's got to be used. The 1 Hot Fudge will probably be your favorite in the race. It's a second-time starter, didn't have the best trip. This one should improve. Jose Ortiz is aboard for Linda Rice. And so I'm going to do 1, 3, and 4.
1, 3, and 4 with the 1 as a top pick over the 3, or did you like the 3 best?
I don't have really a top pick in this race. I'd be lying if I did, but I think I would probably take the 4 horse.
Okay.
Out Ensemble.
We'll pop that on there. But yeah, that's a great point. I do like looking at those win percentages, that algorithm, sometimes just as a gauge to how open the race is. And when your favorite, according to the algorithm, only has an 18% chance of winning, that's telling you this is a pond you can maybe be fishing for a long shot in. I did make Circleback Jen my top pick. Very nice pedigree. You mentioned Majestic Perfection. Great numbers first out. This one also, another note I had, was working well enough with a grade 1 winner in Maracuja. This is a live one at first asking. I made an A. I wanted to keep Shared Future, the 8 on side, getting back to what I'm guessing is the best surface. I liked the look of the debut run, had a trip in there, 2 that beat her, came back to win since, and then you mentioned Hot Fudge. The other angle there, Linda Rice, second-time starters, they often improve leaps and bounds. I made the 3 my top pick, used the 8 as an A, and then threw the 1 in there as a B to kick things off in this pick 6. And now we'll pivot to leg B of this pick 6, race number 7, 3-year-old allowance, going 1 mile and 16th on the inner turf. I made my top pick number 6, Never Explain. This one had a tough go of things last time, hitting the gate, running wide on a day that I thought ground loss mattered. Never Explain to me is a likely improver who I was very comfortable making my top pick. The 5 Southern District I thought was interesting. Those last couple of dirt numbers would make him very tough to handle. And he ran okay on turf earlier in the career, but maybe the recent races are better, not because they were on dirt, but just because he's gotten better in general. I think if he can repeat the numbers he's been running, very, very valid win candidate as well. I was going to make an A. And then on the B line, I put the 12 Treason. This is a tricky post, but this runner has some solid races. I thought was includable if a price. Scotty, how do you see it through the lens of this Equinedge software?
Well, I'm using 2 horses in this race. I agree with you on Never Explain. I just don't know what the upside for this horse is, how good this horse can be, but I would agree with you. And the other one I'm going to use is the 5 horse Southern District, who throughout the last race broke 10th, stumbled really badly, and then steadied, had a ton of trouble. This horse was bet to 4-1 against a much tougher group than what's lined up in here, and gets back on the turf. And this horse definitely has turf breeding. That's not going to be a problem. So Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz. It's also the Scotty algorithm's long shot. So I'm gonna definitely go for sure 5 and 6. I will give you a long shot that I might add depending, but the Shoddy is the 8 horse for George Abreu and Jorge Abreu and Jose Lascano's aboard. Throw out that last race, had some trouble. Didn't like the goings 2 back on the sloppy and 3 back. It didn't run bad actually on the sloppy track, and now back on the turf and should run a much better race. So maybe a long shot too, Shoddy the 8. But I'm going to go 5 and 6, and also possibility would be the 8.
I like that. I like that case on the 8 as a potential long shot. I'll list there as a backup for you as we move on to race number 8. 3 and up filly and mare New York bred allowance types going 6 on the dirt. Scotty, we'll keep it with you.
Well, I'm definitely concerned about the 2 favorites, which in a good way, meaning I'm going to try to beat them. The 10 horse Snicket's going to probably be your favorite, and this one's just burned a lot of money. And at this level, in fact, it broke its maiden back in November at Aqueduct, but barely. And then since then has been at this level 6 times. This will be the 7th, and has not run good. It'll probably end up being your favorite. Beautiful Karen, same thing. If you look down the stretch and then the finish, the horse has lost ground in almost every single start. It's always a sign for me to try to beat horses like that. So I think the race is wide open. I will say this. I think a horse you should watch out for is the 1 horse Pretty Clever, who's our top win percentage. Throw out the last race, bumped at the start, didn't run very good, gets back on the dirt. This horse wants to sprint on dirt anyways. The GSR jumps 12 points. This horse is going to get bet probably, but I do think the 1 horse Pretty Clever, who will definitely be my top pick, is a horse I'm going to go after. Exotica, the 2-horse, been facing a little bit easier company, but did it easily last time out. Could improve, but I actually might single the 1-horse, believe it or not, Pretty Clever. As a matter of fact, the more I'm looking at this horse, I think I'm going to take a risk on this one to possibly go gate to wire the 1.
I like that idea. I had your pick on the B line. I was pretty boring in here. I just kept trying to run the race in my head, and I kept seeing Beautiful Karen getting an absolutely perfect trip. I think Exotica is just going to be found out for class here. I think she's cheap speed, and I think if nothing else, Beautiful Karen will be able to take her down and then either go on with it or set it up for something from off the pace. I just didn't like that, that win last time for Exotica. Part of me was thinking, oh, maybe this is an improving filly, but the fact that it was in the slop, and now up in class, I took a dim view in the end. I put Beautiful Karen on top. I did want to leave Snicket in the mix. I mean, I take your point about the money burning. This horse has been 6 to 1 or lower, but we're back on the dirt here, and that dirt race 2 back was good enough. And then the trip on the green last time, I was willing to excuse that. I wanted to keep Snicket on side on my A line. And then another one that I think is going to catch a lot of money and I don't exactly trust, but I wanted to keep on side was the 9, She's Dancing, who won pretty well first up at a big price. One who, if she improves, I think could easily back that up against what doesn't seem like the strongest allowance group. In the end, I had the 3 and 10 as A's, the 9 and 1 as B's. And with that, we'll move on to some stakes action here. We've got the Jockey Club Oaks Invitational for these 3-year-olds going 1 mile and 3/8 on the inner turf. Interesting field of 7. I went with the 7 Harakuju. Just beautiful breeding here. Excellent overseas form. I like the fact that she's been successful left-handed and clearly enjoys the distance. Definitely wanted 7 as the top pick and on a whole lot of tickets. I was going to use the 3 Baby Blythe as well. Very aggressively spotted for a trainer in Shug McGahee, who often is much more on the conservative side. I love the GSR on this runner for going longer, that genetic strength rating from Equinedge we talked about. Just looking at her breeding in the PPs and seeing American Pharaoh, a Belmont winner, and Giants Causeway, for whom longer the better. Those things make me think that Baby Blythe might even be able to improve off that big run last time. She was my other A. And then I also wanted to keep the 1 Creative Flair on side as a B. I didn't like the tactics last time, taken back off that even pace. I'm going to give another chance with a little more ground and a terrific finishing jock in Jamie Spencer in the irons. 7 and 3 is A's. The 1 is a B. Lots of ways you can go in here. I'm curious if we more agree or disagree in this spot. Scotty, how do you see it?
Oh, I love Higher Truth. I'm going to single higher Truth. I really think this horse is the real deal. And it's still a little bit green. I've been watching some of these races, and this horse is right there. Been facing really good competition. Has tactical speed, and I think I really do think Chad Brown's been pointing for this all along. I really do. So there's a $700,000 up for grabs here in this Jockey Club Oaks Invitational, but I think Higher Truth is the horse to beat. The Irish bred, Chad Brown, Jose Ortiz, going to be my single.
I don't hate it. I mean, ultimately I wanted her figures to be a little higher, but I mean, her form, right there with Cone Lima, who's very good, right there with Santa Barbara, who's very good. Neither of them are here. And on breeding, obviously that this should be fantastic for this daughter of Galileo. I think I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have her covered at least as a B in my official picks for race number 9. Let's talk about race number 10. 3-year-old stakes once again. Jockey Club Derby Invitational, 1.5 miles on the green for these 3-year-olds. And Scotty, we're going to throw it right back to you. Who's going to get it done?
Well, I'm going to say Bolshoi Ballet is going to run a better race. That being said, in the Saratoga Derby Invitational, there was really no excuses in that Grade 1 race. Now, this $1 million Jockeys Club Derby Invitational is a non-graded stakes race, which is really interesting, but because there's some really talented horses in here, but a lot of them really haven't proven that much, including this one, really. So although this one's earned $700,000 and ran good in the Belmont Derby back in July, really disappointed with no apparent excuses that I saw. So we'll see if this one improves here back at Belmont. Seems to like the turf. It was a good track back in July. We'll see what it is listed on Saturday. But Bolshoi Ballet should improve. Going to be tough. 7-5 on the Equinedge morning line. And Tokyo Gold, though, is a horse going to make my top pick. I really think this one is a talented and second time here in the States. Was taken back last time out, made a run. The pace was too slow. 8-1 on the morning line. We have this horse at 7-2 on the morning line, and the genetic strength rating, our GSR, is 89. And this is a well-bred horse.
Yeah, that's extremely impressive. Just 3 and 8 for you in there, or did you have any others you wanted to mention?
That's it. Now, I thought the entire field was talented, but this sequence of races is pretty tough, and you're going to have to take a stance somewhere.
Yeah.
For me, that stance is going to be. I'm probably going to single Pretty Clever in the 8th race. I will say this: if you did an all in there, it wouldn't. You might get a bomb in there as well. But for sure, my best bet of the day is Higher Truth. The 2 horse in race number 9, but I like Tokyo Gold a lot. Bolshoi Ballet, this one is very highly touted. People have been talking about this horse for a while, so it's been touted, a lot. So I think the 8's going to run better, but I'm just going to use 3 and 8, Peter.
When you see a horse bet to even money in the Derby, like the proper Derby, you're not supposed to say, when you say Epsom Derby over there, they yell at you. They say it's just the Derby. Everything else imitates this. This horse was even money in there, didn't handle Epsom, which is a quirky track. But I mean, that speaks to Bolshoi Ballet's talent. For me, the excuse last time was he just went too fast, too soon. I mean, I got it. Ryan Moore was, he had comments after the first race on these shores of Bolshoi Ballet, being surprised at how passive the New York riding colony was, things that horse players complain about all the time. I think he decided to take the bull by the horns, which I respect the aggressiveness, but I think he just overdid it. And this is not a horse that can quicken. This is a grinder. He needs to go at an even pace and just click off 12s. He feel like he went inefficiently fast. And I think this time around, with a more even run through the race, he can be what we thought he was based on the previous run. I'm definitely in Bolshoi Ballet's corner, though I'm with you about Tokyo Gold. I mean, this horse closed very well without a particular setup in that stateside debut. Yes, at the line, Bolshoi looked to have him pretty well in hand, but we've got added ground here. Bolshoi's had the race in between. I have zero problem with Tokyo Gold. He's an A for me as well. So we've got the same 2 A's. I did want to at least mention the 2 Yabir for Godolphin. This is some really good Euro form. We see Group 3 types coming over here for an important Group 2 at York to come here. And York is one of those courses. It is left-handed. It's often a good pointer to USA form. So I felt like Yabir had to be included as well. I was going to take a 3A approach, 8, 3, and 2 as we conclude our stakes action on this Belmont Saturday card and move things along to our nightcap 3 and up starter allowance type, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Scotty, how are we going to get paid?
Well, I'm spreading here, Peter. I'm going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11. I just think, yeah, I know. I don't normally use that many horses, but I really do think this is a wide open race. I'm going to give you a horse that's very interesting, though. Air Show, the 8 horse, 10-1 on the morning line. And the horse is actually 15-1 on our morning line, so you're probably going to get higher odds. But here's what's interesting. In a wide open race on our win percentages, Air Show has a 18% win. And if you throw out the last race, just throw out the last race on the turf. Didn't like that turf. Horse has a good post position here, is tactical, absolutely fits on class here with this group, no problem. And this horse could be right there. I don't think we're getting 15. Well, maybe we won't get 15-1. I don't know. Our morning line is 15-1, but I like the 18% here. I like the tactical speed. The horse has been in the money at this surface and distance of 6 furlongs on the dirt 5 of 6 times. So definitely do not leave out the 8 horse Air Show.
I'll list that one as the top. And the rest of the spread was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, and 11. Did I get that right?
Yeah, and the 8, of course, yeah.
And the 8. I made the 8 your top pick, so I'll list that one first. I liked Air Show a lot as well. I actually picked second. I put the 3 Advance Notice on top. This one's in good form, and I thought just could get the right kind of grinding trip from mid-pack in the first start for the Rodriguez barn, which does so well with new acquisitions. You already made the case on Air Show. Should be a solid price. I mean, I hope we get that Equinedge morning line price, but even the USA morning line price, I'd be fairly well excited about, because that recent dirt run 2 back, the horse should probably be 4-1. And I think he might be able to work out a similar stalk and pounce journey. So I'm very interested in Air Show, totally with you there. And then another one in your deep spread that I wanted on side was the 10 repo rocks. This is just a question of going through the trips. And the last 2 outs have been very, very difficult for repo rocks. But you go back to those runs 3 and 4 back, they're as good as anything in this race runs. He could be very dangerous in this spot. I was going to try to get out with a triple A approach again in here. 3, 8, and 10. Good stuff, Scotty. Always great going over these races. I love the fact that Equinedge, we've had you on 3 weeks in a row doing 3 completely different circuits. And, Equinedge allows you to be versatile like that. A particularly interesting tool when it comes to contests. Folks looking for more from you specifically about Woodbine. Tell them again when you're going to be on Saturday and where they can find you, and then we'll let you get out of here.
All right. So I'm going to be, I've got a show on Saturday and Sunday covering Woodbine live. We'll have the races live for you, and we'll be doing race by race by race. We're going to do 6-hour show. So it's going to be a marathon. Get ready for that. The chat's going to go off. You can go to YouTube, go to Equinedge Live and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click on the bell. You'll get notifications, or you can subscribe to Equinedge for free, equinedge.com for free. And you'll get notifications by email. You can click on that or subscribe to Equinedge go to Twitter and go to @Equinedge, and we send out notifications of shows if you're on your phone and you just want to watch from there. And you can click on the link that we'll have attached to that tweet, and it'll take you to the YouTube channel.
And obviously, to get the most out of it, you got to be playing along, learning to use this tool that I know has really changed my handicapping for the better. Equinedge.com is the website. The promo code free money gets you a month free. That's the best offer out there on this. Equinedge.com/free money will get you there, or just go to the sign up page and use that promo code. Scotty, we'll see you on the TV, on the social media thing, wherever we see you. But we're excited to have you back on again soon, and we wish you Godspeed this weekend.
All right. Thank you always. Thanks so much, Peter.
Today's show brought to you in part by our friends at the Breeders' Cup and Horse Players Happy Hour. Our regular season is coming to a close, but that doesn't mean you can't still be involved. First off, you're going to want to play in this game next week. If you finish in the top 2, you're going to go on to our playoffs as well as win a seat into the Saturday qualifier. This is a $20 tournament, folks, with 2 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seats added to the prize pool, and all the proceeds go to charity. Honestly, just to support a cool thing, I can make the case that you should be playing $20 entries, 3 of them every week, and play. If you don't come up with anything else, play 1 all the 1s, 1 all the 2s, 1 all the 3s. These are the kind of concepts we need to be supporting. But here's more good news. We're going to be doing, I haven't run this by our friends yet, but I'm pretty sure they're going to go for it. We're going to be doing qualifiers direct into the BCBC qualifiers, with the VIG going to charity for the following 3 Thursdays as well. Actually, following 4 as we follow along with our playoffs. Anyway, if you don't know what I'm talking about yet, tune into a Horse Player Happy Hour. You'll get all the information. You can go back and check out old episodes at our YouTube page. Go to horseplayers.com. The next game will go live on Tuesday. Go to horseplayers.com. Sign up today. Check out the archive on our YouTube channel, In the Money Media, over there. And join us. We also love these shows because we get to interact with people during the shows, which is so fun. You get to tell us your picks, ask questions. We ask you questions. We have a great old time. So you can find the live stream on Breeders' Cup social media or the old archives of them at our YouTube channel, In the Money Media, over there. We hope to see you soon. Next up in the show, very pleased to be joined by a man who's near and dear to me. He's a friend. He's an excellent handicapper who's been doing a great job these last couple seasons, following all the action up north at Woodbine. And it's great for this big day to get his thoughts. Remember, we've got plenty of other Woodbine coverage too. If you can't get enough, which I know I can't, we're going to have full card coverage elsewhere. But here, as we typically do, we're going to put an emphasis on the late pick 4 and the stakes races. I'm talking about, of course, about Drew Coatney from In the Money Media. How are things, Drew?
I'm good. I almost called you this at lunch today. I made some cacio e pepe, toasted some peppercorns.
That's a great
made
sauce.
Made that nice pasta sauce, starchy sauce, and combined it all together. If no one knows what we're talking about, look it up. It's the greatest recipe if you have nothing in your house, because you always typically have a block of Parmesan in the back of the fridge and some peppercorns. That's all it takes.
Delicious pasta sauce. The simpler the better. I love the Lilia version. Lilia, the great restaurant in Brooklyn, one of my favorite Italians anywhere in the world, that does it with the pink peppercorns. That's a nice twist as well. I'm glad we got the little culinary diversion. I feel like we should be talking about, pea meal ham or a poutine or something a little more Canadian focused with the emphasis on Woodbine. I am very sad not to be there. Obviously I didn't go last year. There was no Woodbine Mile last year, but I haven't been. So now in a couple of years, but this has become a regular date on my calendar. And I'll remind folks again, how much fun it is to target this as a weekend to go to Toronto. It's typically some of their best weather of the year. Toronto International Film Festival is a nice lure to get a non-racing significant other up there north of the border as well. I'll miss them this time around. Hopefully we can all go next year. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, admittedly, I've never been either. So this relationship is from afar, and I don't think we're being catfished one bit. I think this is worth the trip, and I'm excited to get up there.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic stuff. It's low key one of the best. Not even low key. I mean, I have to put that Woodbine Club buffet up there with the best racing meals. And there's still contest players from a few years ago when we were doing the contest up there. Hopefully we'll get back to that eventually. But they still talk about the surf and turf at the buffet. A little bit better than some of the displays we've seen. We won't name names, but from other racetracks over the year. Woodbine do a great job taking care of their customers. Can't wait to get back there. Really excited to have all this extra coverage. You and I will be back on Sunday going over some stuff. And did we say, are we doing something Saturday morning too? Are we going to do a little final answers thing, or did we decide to pivot to Sunday? I honestly can't remember.
Yeah, let's talk, because I'm on the road Saturday morning, but doesn't mean we can't record. So we'll talk after.
We might have. I'm not sure if there's going to be meat on the bone between this and the other show we're doing for Saturday. So we'll figure it out. But certainly we'll be back for Sunday and coverage of those critical grade ones. We want folks to make sure to tune back in. We'll do that audio only. Major Breeders' Cup implications with the Summer and the Natalma on Sunday. So you'll definitely be able to tune back in for those. Depending on what's going on in our lives, we may even have another bonus show, such as how interested we are in betting this weekend. We're going to start off on this portion of our Woodbine coverage talking about race number 3, which goes at 2:16 p.m. This is fillies and mares 3 and up, going a mile and an eighth on the Woodbine turf in the Canadian, presented by our friends at the Japan Racing Association, by the way. They'll be back in action pretty soon. Got to remember about that, too. Let's kick you off here, Drew. It's a short field, but I thought you could make cases for a whole bunch of these. Where'd you end up going?
Yeah, I'm ending up with the number 2, Our Secret Agent. As I looked at the top of the market, horses, there was not a lot of standouts and figure-wise. And when you get into these small fields, some strange things might happen. So I just looked and saw Boardroom has beaten this horse twice on the square, but Boardroom is a legitimate, serious filly. So I kind of excuse that a little bit and kind of maybe even upgrade that a little bit. See Abscon there as well, 2 back. And Julia Olympica, Abscon coming back running the Kentucky Downs last week and ran really well there as well. So that form's really being bumped up. And I think this one should be able to sit pretty close. I don't see a ton of speed. It may play perfectly into the hands of Our Secret Agent, with Gallardo and Cassie being, great connections. And the 4-year-old still has plenty of upside.
Yeah, time form has it as no speed with the 2 Our Secret Agent on the lead. I nearly picked her. I blinked at the last minute and went a different direction, but I definitely see where you're going with that. Did you have another you wanted to mention in here?
I did. I'm going to go the number 5, Merveilleux. I'll save anything if you want to have meat on the bone, because that's the logical short price. And then the number 4, Barkin. I feel this horse is coming in to her own as a 4-year-old, the second start, and what a second start. I don't know if there was maybe Catherine Day Phillips was asked to enter this horse to add some mix, but even if still, I really like this horse. Was steadied really bad at the start and was just grinding away at Ballymore Star, who is a promising horse as well. And so I'm excited to see how this runner fits in, and I think we'll be able to hit the board at a minimum. So if you're playing any of the verticals, could be a great one to key underneath. Maybe just uses a penny in any of the horizontal bets.
It's an interesting idea. I mean, Barkin's certainly going to be a big price, and second off that long layoff for top connections. The late great Jeff Sotman, his old angle, short field, long price. I can see where you're going with that. I actually you named 3, and I went with one that you didn't name. I went with the 3 La Dragon T in here. I like the fact that she's shown versatility in running style, which I really like in a race coded no speed. You look at the 2 losses that have come here in North America. And I think those were both excusable vis-a-vis trips. And then another thing, these short fields, they're often riders' races. And as well as Rosario has been riding, with as much finish as he brings out of a horse, especially in a galloping turf configuration like we saw at Kentucky Downs last week, maybe a little bit of that Rosario magic can have La Dragantee in the right spot and can get the job done. Seemed like you had something to say. Did you have a knock on this one?
Yeah, it just looking at, let's just go to the buyer figures. You see 91, 87, 79, 85. It just doesn't feel like this runner is ready to step forward and has already been exposed in form. I see the point. I think this one will be bet down below Merveilleux. And in my opinion, Merveilleux has better tactical speed and has shown more ability than La Dragantee. I think it's a fascinating race. I'm excited to see what happens, but I think my money is going to still stick on the number 2, Our Secret Agent.
It's a really interesting race, like we said. I mean, you can make cases for none of us mentioned the one who's only 7-2 on the morning line. You can make cases for all of these. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't know if there's a fair way to make a Dragantee bet. I wouldn't give you the rest of the field in a head-to-head. I'd give you she has to place or I lose. Would you give me that? She has to run 1-2 or I lose in a head-to-head. Would you do that?
No, I think she is. I mean, I really do. I think she'll run 2, okay. 2 or 3 at least.
All right. Well, no head-to-head there, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Let's fast forward to the next stake, which is also conveniently the start of the late pick 4, which is typically what we do on these Saturday shows with our friends at Woodbine. We've got the Grade 1 Canadian International rescheduled, moved up, which I think is probably a good thing. Used to run 2 weeks out from the Breeders' Cup, and you'd occasionally see a horse try the double, but the way horses are trained nowadays, this is better spotting to get horses who might run big and then come back for a test like that. 1.5 miles here on the turf. I'll kick this one off. I had trouble with the race, though, but I eventually landed with Corelli on top. This is a runner that ran really well in the Singspiel and might be a real fan of Woodbine. Ran very well overseas, going the distance of 12 furlongs. But what I think I really like about Corelli in this spot is just the trip that I see with enough speed to hopefully stay in touch and then enough finish to be shown to good effect through that long Woodbine stretch in the lane. I went with Corelli. I was hoping, I handicapped pre-morning lines. I was hoping we might see 6-1. There's 4-1 on the morning line. We'll see what the actual price is. But I thought Corelli was interesting. I'm probably supposed to pick Walton Street, given a lot of the things I always talk about on this show. Just super obvious off that Dubai form, the Shima Classic run, that wins this. And then had license to be short last time off the layoff for the German run. Appleby doing so well with shippers for the boys in blue, Godolphin. You can't help but notice Frankie Dettori showing up for this one. Walton Street will be absolutely everywhere on my tickets. I was going to try to take on the 2-time winner of this race in Desert Encounter. I liked it 1-2. What do you think about the Canadian International? Yeah,
let's start with Desert Encounter. I think that horse might be over the top, 9 years old. If you go back and look at the pre-race coming into this, those races prior, had a stronger time form. If you're not looking at DRF Formulator, they're right there for these English races. So you can look and say, okay, where was the par as this one was coming in to give you an indicator of the form. And I just don't think we'll see Desert Encounter up there. I'm fading that one as well. But I'm ready to see the Flying Jockey in the winner's circle in the number 2 Walton Street. I think it's significant that Dettori's here. I think this horse has great tactical speed, going back to watching the replays, and just has the highest figures and Lasix for the first time. So hard to beat against. And being speed advantaged in these wide sweeping turns has a really great effect as well with this bunch. The prices I'm going to use, right? Corelli makes all the sense in the world, but number 8, English Conqueror, I think is a late developing one that is continuing to sneakily improve each start. And Traveled Widest of all going like about 9 or 10 as Corelli got the highway up the rail more or less in that race. And 2-back found the yielding surface, 3-back tried the all-weather, and that didn't go over so well. And 4-back during the 2021 debut was way too sharp of a distance, trying to gun down the speedy horse in Town Cruise. So I think this horse might just want to run all day. and at this distance could really excel. So there's so much pace in here with Wall Street, Belichick, Primo, Touch. I think there's a couple others in here. This could set up perfectly for this runner. Number 8, English Conqueror at 15-1. So my horses, though, to review, the number 2 is an A, the number 8 is an A, and the number 1 as an A.
Okay, 2, 8, and 1, all on the A line for Drew. I like it 1, 2. We'll see. So we got plenty of agreement there, and I'm certainly not going to knock. I mean, I think English Conqueror will be all of that 15-1 and I see the case about potentially being able to get a piece in there underneath. If it rains at all, upgrade English Conqueror being by English Channel. We know how well they run with a little bit of cut in the ground. Let's move on to the main event, the Woodbine Mile. Breeders' Cup winning. You're in action, obviously 1 mile on the turf in this spot. And we're going to let you kick this one off, Drew. What do you think is going to win?
Yeah, my top selection is the number 3, March to Arts. The connections weren't worried about that King Edwards, and this is what they pretty much carbon copied last year's campaign to get to this year. And they're really after that $1 million purse. So I just feel like this runner had some big trouble last out in that start in the King Edwards and in the lane. And I just feel like we're just scratching at the surface of this runner as we can go back and look at where we went from the King Edwards to the Woodbine to the Breeders' Cup Mile. Right? I'm sure the connections were hoping better than a 9th or a 13th place, nine back finish at Keeneland in the Breeders' Cup Mile. So I just think we're going to get such a great price on a horse that may be quote unquote off form, but I just have too many trip notes against this one with a little bit better race luck today. Well, on Saturday, should be able to get up into the winner's circle. The other one I do like is Set Piece. I just didn't think it looked comfortable at Saratoga. In those tight turns, you could tell there wasn't an ability to really start to make a move. Giroux kind of sat on hold as they were going around the turns. I think those tighter turns at Saratoga prevented ground being made up around the turn and had to wait until tipping out to the top of the lane and then starting that deep run. You can do that all day on the wide turns where they're going to be running the Woodbine Mile today. So I think the 5 and the 3 are where I'm going with my A's and fading the rest.
All right. I'm going to give Raging Bull one more shot. I mean, this horse, I get those who think that maybe the last time was representative of decline, but this is a horse who's always had a little bit of that in and outer about him. And it's just when I plot the pace in this race, there ain't much of it. I mean, here we have a deep closer, or it's sometime deep closer anyway, who has among the best closing sectionals in the field, but he's going to be in the top flight. And I think that's going to be very tough to down over a course where I think this time around he's bound to get a good run through. I think he's been, I mean, yes, if he's declined and you know, he's not the same horse well as a 6-year-old, then he's not going to win. But this horse was in career form between the last. Horses have bad days. People have bad days. Once more under the breach with Raging Bull for me. I want to tell you a story about Space Traveler, and I will probably use as a B, but I'm just worried he's going to be too far back. And I'm worried a lot of the key contenders, including your March to the Arch, might just be a little bit too far back. I think Raging Bull gets the jump and goes on with it. I love to see Dettori in the irons as well for this one. Could be a double flying dismount on Saturday as far as I'm concerned. Did you seemed like you wanted to make a snarky comment about Raging Bull or something?
No, I'm fist bumping for Space Traveler here. That was my other backup in this race. Go back and look at the Mr. D on Twitter on August 14th when the Arlington Million was being run, renamed the Mr. D, which we will be going out, Matt Miller and I, for the last time to pay our respects to Arlington Park. But long story short, pathetically slow run race. They let 2 Emmys get away. Congrats to the connection of 2 Emmys, but it didn't give it. No one in the race.
It wasn't a truly run race. I think we can just leave it at that.
Fairest way to put it. So I think Space Traveler. I see alcohol free there. And Poetic Flair and some other really strong, classy horses. In this one. And
Space Traveler's good. Space Traveler's real good. I mean, as we've seen before, it's just a pace makes the race thing. But if it's unexpectedly fast, why not? I mean, this is not a horse I want to be leaving off my tickets at double-digit odds, but I'm going to run a lot more of my ticket through Raging Bull. than I will than I will on this one. Any other thoughts on the Woodbine Mile, Drew? It's a big enough race. We can yap about it a bit more, or we can pivot to this late double.
Yeah, I do have a runner by runner. Just a couple quick sentences that we will have in the write up. I want to make a note. Go back and watch the replay of Tom Cruise Olympic runner and March to the Arch in that King Edwards, and kudos to the line maker. I believe Geller makes the lines, correct?
No, Ernie, sorry.
What a great line, because Tom Cruise and Olympic runner got the absolute setups in that King Edwards, and I'm so happy that they didn't try and put the lines lower. That figure is inflated. It got the easiest of leads. Olympic runner essentially drafted behind Tom Cruise. So make note of that. If you're hitching your wagon to those two, I think those numbers are a little bit inflated and should be knocked down a couple points. So that's the only other thing I have to say here, because it's so attractive to hitch your wagon to Tom Cruise with the speed on the rail.
Yeah, I mean, especially if the 20-1 ends up being a good guess. I mean, I honestly wouldn't argue with anybody in case the Tory decides to really take back on Raging Bull. I mean, who is there to go with Tom Cruise? That's the problem. And we've seen that work. We saw that happen, what was it, 2 years ago in this race with a 40-1 wire-to-wire winner. I mean, I don't know. The more I look at it, I kind of want to use Tom Cruise at least on one backup line as off that potential lone speed play. But you're not feeling it?
I just am not. No, it's a 6-year-old with exposed form, and you go back and look at the 20.
Pace breaks the race, baby. I mean, that's how you get $42 winners.
But I don't think Raging Bull's going to let that horse just go loping along like Olympic runner did.
Well, I hope you're right, and that is why I ultimately did pick that horse. But sometimes I'll game out these scenarios, and that's Town Cruise wiring this race. I would feel so bad if that happens. I would feel so bad after that. Whatever 5% of my money I have to spend to cover that scenario is well worth doing it as insanity insurance. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe somebody's going to watch and say that makes me a mug punter, but that's how I feel.
Well, and we have one horse we didn't talk about, which was Ride a Comet, coming in off of the Wise Dan, running a decent third. What were your thoughts? I have some. If you want to pass to me,
too far back. No setup. I mean, the horse is a good horse. A big run would be no surprise. But I just think that I'd take set piece over Ride a Comet, and I'm not even really planning on using set piece. I think the interesting closer is Space Traveler, and so it makes me a lot less interested in the sub 6-1 type closers like the 4 and the 5 for me.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how I see it. Not close enough to anything, too far back for everything. So yeah, that's where I think the March to the Arch is going to get. Those two speeds on the inside are going to go. March to the Arch will suck to the rail and get that trip that Olympic runner did in the King Edwards.
I can see that. I mean, I'm more interested in March to the Arch, I think, than those other two, just for that increased tactical speed. All right, there you go. A little bit of an in-depth look into the featured race at Woodbine on Saturday, the Woodbine Mile. And now we'll pivot to race number 11. We've got $40,000 claimers going 6.5 on the synthetic. I'll do this one. Who did I like in here? I like the one, Ikerin Road. This is a runner with back class. I thought should get a pretty good setup. Looks to be plenty of speed signed on in here, coded fast, on-time form US. I wanted to use a few other runners as well. I was going to go all closers in here, which always makes me nervous. I wish I could try to get stuck into one speed. Maybe you'll say something to convince me to use one of the likely speeds, but I just wasn't really feeling them. I thought that the 4 Solidify looked very good in here off the run 2 back. Yeah. This is a horse that's shown the ability to close. I was intrigued at how well Solidify came out on the Equinedge genetic strength rating for a horse getting back and going a little bit shorter on the synthetic than the last day. Definitely wanted some 4s. And then the 8, I thought, was just fairly obvious contender. Fits on figures, shows some nice finish. I was going to try to make race 11, 1, 4, and 8. What numbers did you have?
Yeah, I'm on the 8. Speedy Hans at 4-1 with you as well as my top choice. And if we get anything 4-1, I'm happy with that, because Cassie and Barber strung together 2 great races over the early, kind of like the early summerish time frame. Gave this runner a little bit of time off for this 4-year-old, and I just think we're looking at has won 4 times out of 6 races and 1 placing out of those 6 races as well. And I'm just overall impressed with this horse's tactical ability. And I'm curious to see what's next. I could see this being a little bit of a stepping stone start back up into a stakes or graded stakes caliber and Woodbine. So I'm hitching my wagon pretty heavily to the number 8. I think number 7, Silent Jimmy, is on the horse to watch list that we continue to talk about, and life has been getting in the way of continuing. But there's such an easy story to tell that this runner just hasn't had the right setup all year, and there's like little glimmers of hope, whether it's the wrong surface, the wrong pace up, a bad trip. And today should get a bit more clear running room, hopefully a little farther out, and not getting stuck behind some of those speed and fade types that we see all too often. You'll get this pack of horses, and all of a sudden they start dropping back at Woodbine at the top, at the 8th pole, and you got your closers trying to stalk and try and make headway. I think that's going to be very significant in this race today. And number 7, Silent Jimmy at 12-1 is a good price. And then the other one I'll be using as the number 4, Solidify. I think, like you said, so there's some pace in here, but it's hard not to use this one when I think we'll have the ground-saving trip and the best trip of those closers. It's just a matter of, can we get lucky with the number 4, Solidify at 7-2, getting a wide run down the lane? I don't know. That's why I'm going with the number 8, Speedy Hans. Will be clear, will be wide. So if I were to give numbers, the A is 8 and 2 Bs of 7 and the 4.
All right, 8 on the A line, 7 and 4 on the B line for Drew. Will bring us to our last race, which before we get to, we must point out there's a forceout just announced that there's going to be $300,299 exactly. That's going to be paid out additional in this super high 5. It ain't an easy super high 5 race. What I will probably try to do is mess around with some type of double key. There were 2 runners I liked in here more than others. I'm going to go back. I haven't done all the work yet. I'm going to try to make some eliminations and try to make it where my 2 numbers have to finish somewhere in this, and I might even have to make it they finish first in the first 3 spots just to make it affordable, because with the super high 5, this can get out of control very quickly. But in such a competitive race, I feel like this is a valid approach, because if you're right and you don't overspread too much and you can just come up with one idea for the race and try to make that happen, you're going to get paid. And so, Drew, I will ask you, when it comes to this last race at Woodbine, race number 12, on this marathon Saturday card, the starter allowance going 6.5 on the synthetic, how are we going to get paid?
Yeah, I think Speedway is not going to be 10-1, and I think that's your winner there. It has been drawn wide in all 3 starts, and today gets the rail and looks to want the 6.5 furlongs, 1 there, 2 back. Last out looked to be trying to make that wide sweeping move that's always so hard to do at Woodbine. You see, I'm surprised Emma Jane actually went that way. I'm if I go back and watch the replay, I'm almost certain she didn't have a choice but to do that. So Husbands gets aboard a little bit of a jockey shift. I can't blame Emma Jane for that ride, so who knows what's going on back there. But I just think progressing each and every start, and you got to start the conversation with number 1 Speedway. And then I go for all over the place from there. So I'm just going to go through some numbers, Pete, and then let's just talk about some stuff. I like the idea always of either trying to find a closer who just can't quite get up and hit the board. We know is going to hit like 4th or 5th. They're running for those spots, not running for the actual victory, that type of horse. Or I'm with the opinion of let's find 1 or 2 runners to put in the top couple spots. But the number 3, Frosted Icing, for me, had 0 chance last out sprinting on the turf, and it really steadied around that turn. And that was such a significant blow to that horse, especially while trying to go against the place flow, was trying to make a wind-up move, couldn't do it. 2 back, tried running against Riptide Rock, and we saw how that horse turned out, running fairly well, running a good second behind. Why? Is it a host fail if I ask you who won that race?
Yeah, it's not a host fail because you're not the host, but you're definitely never supposed to do that, because you're not supposed to ask questions you don't know the answer to.
Well, you filibustered enough, and so Safe Conduct was the horse that this one ran behind in the Queen's Plate. So thank you for filibustering for me there. So number 3, Frosted Icing, is pretty interesting to me. The number 10, Flying Curling, gets the class relief and a strong workout in between the layoffs here. The number 4, Candy Load. I don't know how this one will be 20-1 when odds open, because it just has the best figures on Timeform US and needs a bit of a pace collapse, but who knows with anything that's going to happen here. So that one's really interesting for me. And then the number 11, Tycoon, has tried to come from way off of it and then from way up on the lead. So imagine we're going to find a Goldilocks scenario. And to steal a word that you use,
I almost used that today in my piece I was writing for that ADW I do the expert picks for. I was like, I came close to using the Goldilocks line, getting it just right, but I didn't do it. But you think, in this case, you think Tycoon could get that just right trip potentially?
I do, and I was going to use your second line would be able to close with a plum. So there you go. We're learning all sorts of things, culinary and literature wise.
1, 3, 4, 11. Are those the numbers you're looking to center around? Did I
1, 3, 10, 4, 11, and I will be fading the 5 at least. That's made the short list of horses that we're fading.
Okay, that's fair enough. I like 2 others that you didn't even mention. That's how tricky of a race it is. Number 9, High Heat. This is first time against winners, which can be tricky. But I like the trip this horse is going to get because I like the fact that he can close, but he's going to be close up. It's not really that dissimilar to what I was talking about with the Raging Bull angle. I love looking at horses that can finish who are not going to have to be that far back. And I think High Heat fits that pattern. It ain't going to be easy. And this horse probably is going to be, it's funny, I handicapped these without morning lines. And unfortunately, in this ridiculously competitive race, I came up with the 2 morning line favorites, with High Heat being the one that I just love the trip this horse is going to get. And I'm not going to let that put me off. The way I'm betting it, I don't think it's going to matter that they're favorites, because we're going to have to rely on a bunch of other things to happen. And that other horse, the 13, Kid Forrester, just makes all the sense in the world to me. Just very, very logical on figures and form. This is a horse that can pass runners, and I'm thinking that, and I'm hoping anyway, that if the pace is fast enough and we can get a clear run on the outside, that the outside post won't be deleterious to Kid Forrester's chances. So I was looking to feather in the 9 and the 13 with a bunch else. I like what you were saying about maybe taking, I don't know, the 4th spot or the 5th spot and making that have to be a certain closer who gets in there. Making the 9 and the 13 have to both run in the top 3. Maybe that's an approach where I can try to tackle this super high 5 without spending a bajillion dollars, get a little bit of a shot at that $299,000 carryover we're going to have on Saturday. Any other final thoughts from you, Drew, on this race or this Saturday Woodbine card?
No, we'll try and get something written up on the blog that is provides a cogent case to why we're going to bet what we're going to bet on the super high 5. So
yeah, maybe we can collaborate on that a little. We could each give, if we have time to put our heads together, maybe we can each give a little strategy and try to come up with a ticket that's not going to cost a jillion dollars.
Yeah. No, me, low bankroll player. So trying to risk a little to win a lot.
I think this is a good opportunity to do that. You have to have a strong enough opinion. I'm not saying people should just play blind. It's not like Horse Player Happy Hour where I honestly mean it. You don't even handicap and play because it's a great deal and it's helpful to the industry and it's good long. With a bet like this, even because it's a carryover or a force out or whatever, even if you knew for sure more money was coming out than was going in, doesn't mean you should always play. But I do believe it means you should take an extra look. And if you find something clever, it's an acceptable time to take some risk with these player favorable terms.
Yep, absolutely. And I do want to send my apologies to Ernie, who had to make the morning line on this race, because God bless you.
It's not an easy feat that these guys, and I think they are pretty much all guys at this point, have to do in terms of making these morning lines. Super easy thing to knock, super hard thing to do. So give them a wide berth is what I say. All right, great stuff, Drew. We appreciate you. We'll look for your work over on inthemoneypodcast.com.
Sounds good. Thanks, Pete.
That's going to do it for this edition of the show. So many people to thank. Let's start with producer AJ doing a fantastic job while Craig is out doing holiday stuff. You can't really say celebrating when it comes to Yom Kippur, but I guess celebrating the end of the fast. That's what's going on tonight. I guess that does count. So anyway, we'll have producer Craig back soon, but AJ, as ever, doing very ably in his stead. Drew Coatney. Always a pleasure to get his thoughts on all things Woodbine. And then our Swiss Army knife of handicappers, Scottie McKeever. Fantastic to talk to him as well. Thanks to our partners, especially Woodbine, the presenting sponsor of this show. Been so great working for them. One of our first big clients, and great to be sticking with them and helping them and the fantastic run they've been on. Don't forget, we're going to have full card coverage, audio only, dropping a little bit later tonight as well with Jason Pertuando and Doug McPherson for our friends over there. Also, the TRF, you heard about them at the beginning, trfinc.org/players. And let's not forget 10 Strike Racing. Hoping to get a chance to hang out with Marshall and Clay from 10 Strike, maybe at the Keeneland contest in just a few weeks' time. Looks like I'm going to be down there for that. If you're going to be there, let me know. Be fun to meet up, have a whiskey, do something fun of that nature. This show has been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is the aforementioned Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kitchen, who says hi, by the way. He's getting ready to be back on this network in a big way come this fall. Just trying to get him ensconced with his new fall plans. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatow. May you win all your photos.
Just me